Yo, 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 it's your boy Jay Best, and welcome back to the Straight to the Point podcast, season 2, episode 19. All right. Not only is this the 19th episode of season 2, but it's also the very first episode of 2024. All right. So, with that being said, I want to wish everyone a happy new year, and I pray that 2024 is just as good or even better than 2023 was. And remember, no matter what happened in 2023, God got you through it, which means no matter what's going to happen in 2024, God will get you through it. All right. Well, speaking of God, I want to thank Him for waking me up this morning, getting me through a whole nother year. All right. And allowing me to talk about sports, which is something that I love to do. Without Him, I would not be here right now. All right. So let's go ahead and let's get straight to the point. On today's episode, I will be giving y'all the current playoff picture. All right. The playoffs where they end today, which it doesn't. All right. If the season was in today, sorry, then this would be the playoff picture. All right. And then after that, I want to give a coaches appreciation segment. All right. I want to give a shout out to some coaches that I think needs more love than they're getting. All right. Because of where their team is today versus where we thought they would be today. I'll explain more in a little bit. And after that, I'm gonna have my straight to the point awards show. Okay, so this is gonna be a segment where I give out my regular season awards for the NFL and basically tell you who I think should win every single award. I'm talking about the MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, Defensive Rookie of the Year, and Coach of the Year. And then after that, I will be ending this episode with my Week 18 picks. All right, it's the last week of the season, y'all. Can y'all believe we're here already? All right, I feel like just yesterday, we and Logan was doing our preseason predictions. All right, and now we are literally in the last week of the season, heading straight into the playoffs. All right, so let's go ahead and get straight to the point, man. The current playoff picture, as it is right now. Okay, so this is once again, if the season was to end today, this is how it would look. The Baltimore Ravens have the number one seed locked up. The playoffs will go through Baltimore as long as Baltimore is alive. Okay. Number two is the Miami Dolphins. Number three is the Kansas City Chiefs. Number four is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number five, we're talking about the wild card spots, are the Browns. Number six is the Bills. Number seven is the Colts. And on the bubble or in the hunt, whichever one you want to use, is the Texans and the Steelers. All right, those two teams are not in the playoffs right now, but there's a lot of things that can happen this weekend that can shift this whole entire playoff picture. Of course, outside of the number one spot, the Ravens are stuck there no matter what happens. But like for example, the Steelers, we got to win and we need the Bills to lose, or we got to win and need Jacksonville to lose. There's a lot of different scenarios to get the Steelers in. The Texans can win the division, right? They're not even in the playoffs and they can still win the division because they play the Colts, which is a huge matchup, right? Whoever wins that game, if they can win that game, and Jacksonville lose, they can win the division and host a playoff game in their city. But whoever wins that game in general is going to the playoffs. All right, so it's a lot of important games this weekend for a lot of teams. A lot of teams got to win to get in. A lot of teams got to win to stay in. And with a loss, a lot of teams will be going home. Okay, so the NFC number one seed 49ers, that's locked up. That cannot change. The playoffs will go through San Francisco as long as San Francisco is still playing in the playoffs. Number two is the Cowboys. Number three is the Detroit Lions. Number four is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number five is the Eagles. Number six is the Rams. And number seven is the Green Bay Packers. But there's some teams that are still alive. We're talking about the Seahawks, the Saints, the Vikings, the Falcons. Okay, so there's a lot of teams in the NFC that's still alive. Once again, some teams like the Minnesota Vikings, they need to win and they need Green Bay to lose, Seattle to lose. They need a lot to happen in one scenario, right? Like versus the Steelers, for example, they can win and Jacksonville lose and they're in, or they can win and Buffalo lose and they're in. Minnesota, they need to win and they need these teams to lose in order to get. I need multiple teams to lose in order to get into the playoffs. So some teams' chances are higher than others. Some teams' chances are lower than others. But a lot can change after week 18. This is why this is one of the most controversial or one of the most talked about weeks of the year, because this is the week where teams get bounced. This is the week where teams get in. All right, it's like almost an extra playoff week for some teams, which can be a good thing, right? You win this game, getting momentum going into the playoffs. That can actually help you throughout the playoff run. But those are the spots as of right now. That's where teams stand right now. But Some teams will not be standing there by the end of this week. All right. On to the next segment. A segment that I really look forward to doing is the coach appreciation segment. And I broke this segment into tiers. Okay. So I have my tier one coaches, my tier two coaches, and it's not all the coaches, right? But these are the coaches that I think need to be appreciated for what they have done with their teams. And you'll see why when I name these coaches. So tier three, so I'm going from tier three to tier two to tier one, right? So the biggest shout outs are going to be tier one. The kind of low key shout outs going to be tier three. Antonio Pierce, head coach for the Las Vegas, or interim head coach for the Las Vegas Raiders right now. Okay, the Raiders were dead. All right, when Josh McDaniels was the head coach. And I remember last year I was so excited when Josh McDaniels came to the Raiders. I thought he would bring a different vibe to the offense. I thought he would bring that experience from the Patriots to this Vegas offense and turn this team around, but he didn't. The team got worse. The team, whenever Josh McDaniels got fired, was 3-5. Since Antonio Pierce has become head coach, they've been 4-4 over that span. So overall, they're 8-8. Right, not gonna make the playoffs. But Antonio Pierce, from what I've heard a lot of people talk about, he's brought a good feeling to this locker room. Like they was dead, they was gone whenever Josh McDaniels was there. But now Antonio Pierce has come, you see the defense is playing a lot better. Offensively, they don't have a quarterback. I mean, Aiden O'Connell is not that good, so there's only so much they can do. But defensively, which he is a defensive-minded person, coach, they've looked so much better. And you can see the players are just grasping towards him. And that's one thing as a coach that you want to do is be able to win your players' trust, be able to have your players play for you. When your players play for the coach, the players play a whole lot better. So I think he definitely turned this franchise around. And it's tier three because they're not winning games. Right, they're 4-4. They're 500 since he got the head coaching job. So he's not doing a crazy job when it comes to the win-loss column, but he's doing a good job when it comes to their morals, and to their morale, sorry, and just how the vibes are. You see, Max Crosby, whenever Josh McDaniels was there, Max Crosby was very, very. You can see he was upset during interviews and during meetings and everything like that. And then his interviews post Josh McDaniels, whenever Antonio Pierce gets there, it's all happy and good. Even though they're losing games, they still believe. And I think that he should be the next head coach. We'll see what the owner does, but that's my tier three coach appreciation shout out. Okay, tier two. These are coaches that need their recognition, but not as much as tier one. All right, tier two, I got Kevin Stefanski. Okay, Kevin Stefanski, head coach for the Cleveland Browns. We all thought that going into this year they would be better because Deshaun Watson has another year under his belt after being out for a full season, right? We thought that he would be the face of the team. We knew that Nick Chubb is also one of the faces of the team. Well, as of right now, both of those players are not playing because of injury. All right, Deshaun Watson didn't even have a good year prior to his injury, but since both of them has been hurt, the Cleveland Browns have still been winning games with Joe Flacco at quarterback, right? So him being the head coach in general, also the offensive play caller, he's kept this team head way above water. It's not like they're barely getting by. This team right now is 11-5. Right, this team, nobody thought the Browns would be 11-5 this year unless Deshaun Watson went crazy and showed us flashes from the Houston Texans, how he played in Houston, right? But he hasn't. He didn't do that. It's not because of him. It's not because of Nick Chubb, right? People argue is the best running back in the league. He gets hurt week 2, I believe. Deshaun gets hurt mid-season, and his team is still 11-5. So great job, Kevin Stefanski. Sean McVay. The Rams are 9-7 right now. Nobody thought the Rams would look as dangerous as they look right now. Like I don't know who wants to play the Rams in round 1 of the playoffs. I don't know, right? Because I think that they literally are one of those teams that can go into somebody's place and take them out, right? Whether it's Dallas, Detroit, or whoever wins the NFC South, I believe they can go in there and get a win because of Matthew Stafford, because of Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Aaron Donald, Kyron Williams, right? This offense looks elite. And then the defense led by Aaron Donald will give you a chance to win games, but it starts at the coaching position with Sean McVay. All right, Mike Tomlin for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I've tried to stress this to so many Steelers fans. I've really tried to tell them this, but with our quarterback play this year, we should not be where we are right now because the quarterback play took such a step back. Going into the season, I said the goal was to make the playoffs, win a playoff game. That's it. That's the highest we can go. That's our ceiling. Okay, that ceiling dropped once we saw Kenny Pickett regress, and he got worse than he was last year. Right, we thought he could take the momentum and go into this season looking just as good or even as better than he looked at the end of last season, but he's looked worse. So with that being said, the ceiling has dropped. Well, Mike Tomlin busted through the ceiling that dropped and is still aiming for the previous ceiling, which was a playoff appearance and a playoff win with terrible QB play. All right, you have to give the credit to Mike Tomlin. Right now, the Steelers offense has 29 offensive touchdowns, only 29. That's not that good. Okay, because Kenny Pickett could not score. Mr. Trubisky could not score. We finally got average QB play to a little above average with Mason Rudolph. According to his standards, he's playing above average. But according to the rest of the league, he is playing average right now. And you see, we put up 30 points in both games, and we're 2-0 ever since he got into the offense. So, with average to above average QB play, Mike Tomlin will make sure that his team is very competitive and will make sure this team is above 500 and will have this team in the playoffs looking to make an upset in round one. So, you got to give him some love and respect for what he's done this year. And then Kevin O'Connell for the Vikings. I mean, Kirk Cousins went down. I thought, well, even when Kirk Cousins was playing, they started off like 1-4, I want to say, and we thought this team was down and out. Then they started to surge back, and Kirk Cousins gets hurt. And then after Kirk Cousins got hurt, they got Josh Dobbs, and they started looking good again. Then Josh Dobbs fell off finally, right? Kind of came back down to earth a little bit. Then Nick Mullins get in there. Like he's been through 3 quarterbacks this year. Okay, and this team still has a chance. They're not going to make it, but a chance to get into the playoffs. You got to give Kevin O'Connell love for getting this team to just be in the conversation still, despite losing Kirk Cousins, despite the Josh Dobbs fall off, despite Justin Jefferson being hurt for a couple of weeks. He has managed to keep this team's head above water. All right, so great job, Kevin O'Connell. All right, and now the tier one. All right, the tier one coaches, these are coaches that did an elite job this year. Elite, like better than any other coach in the league. These 4 coaches should be the final 4 candidates for coach of the year. And unfortunately, we got to pick out of these 4 because I think all 4 of these coaches deserve it. I'm sorry, DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans, hands down. He going into this year, nobody thought. I said give the Texans about 2 to 3 years and they're gonna be legit. But they're legit right now. And they haven't even really got caught a stride yet. You know what I'm saying? They haven't really found the right pieces to put around CJ Stroud. They haven't really gotten the dogs on defense outside of Will Anderson and Derek Stingley, right? They still need to add things to this team, but they're already there. If that makes sense, like over these next 2 3 years, I thought they was going to be figuring out who they want to keep in the frame, a rebuild mode, but they did not rebuild. This was the quickest rebuild of all time. And DeMeco Ryans has this team 1 win away from being in the playoffs. So regardless if they make the playoffs or not, he did an elite job this year because no Texans fan, no sports fan, not even me and not even you thought that the Texans would be where they are today, but they are here. All right, so much respect, much love to DeMeco Ryans. All right, Todd Bowles, who does not get talked about. All we hear about is Baker Mayfield in Tampa Bay. Todd Bowles had got a bad look because remember the year they won the Super Bowl, Bruce Arians was the head coach. Todd Bowles was the defensive coordinator. The very next year, they lost to the Rams. I want to say when the Rams went to the Super Bowl, and Todd Bowles was the defensive coordinator. Todd Bowles becomes the head coach last year, right? Last year with Tampa Bay because Bruce Arians went to the front office. He just wanted to basically not really promotion, but he didn't want to be the head coach no more. But he still wanted to help the team out. Todd Bowles gets the head coaching job. They made the playoffs. I believe they were like 7-9. I want to say, I'm sorry, like maybe 8-9, somewhere around there. They was very average last year. They didn't look good, and they got stomped first round against the Dallas Cowboys. So everybody's like, this team got worse when Todd Bowles became the head coach. Then Tom Brady leaves, okay, and we're looking at this team like, y'all not gonna be good this upcoming year. Nobody thought the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would be even winning the division, and the division is pretty weak. Let's be honest, right? The Saints are not what we thought they would be. The Carolina Panthers is what it is, right? The Atlanta Falcons are below average. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we thought they were gonna be like the Carolina Panthers, but they are literally in the playoffs right now and went away from making it to the playoffs. So Todd Bowles, much love, much respect. You deserve more flowers than what you're getting right now. I keep hearing about the Baker Mayfield, everything all about Baker, but you did this. You coached this team to be where they are right now. Great job, Todd Bowles. Shane Steichen for the Indianapolis Colts. Look, I thought the Colts was going to be a top 5 pick this upcoming year. I didn't believe in Anthony Richardson. I knew that this offense outside of Anthony Richardson didn't have enough surrounding Anthony Richardson, right? I didn't think Michael Pittman would have a great year like he did. I didn't think that Jonathan Taylor would be good enough to have this team. Like, Jonathan Taylor been hurt this year. Actually started the season out hurt, right? So this team they're in the playoffs. Right now they're in the playoffs because of Shane Steichen. Shane Steichen came from Philly, and I knew that he would get the Colts to a good spot eventually because of his offensive mind. You saw what he did with Philly last year, and he left Philly. Now Philly looks like the Pigeons right now. The Eagles look like the Pigeons right now because Shane Steichen left, and they don't have that same scheme and that same guy calling plays. It looks very different right now, so that shows you how much of an impact he had on that offense last year. And now this year with Gardner Minshew, not even his drafted chosen quarterback, with Gardner Minshew, this team is a win away from being locked into the playoffs. So great job, Shane Steichen. Then Matt LaFleur. Okay, Matt LaFleur being 8-8 right now with um, Jordan Love, who is like a roller coaster right now, right? At the beginning of the season, we thought he was good, right? We thought he was good. Oh, this might be the next Brett Favre / Aaron Rodgers. Then he took a dramatic drop off, right? And then recently, we see he's going back up. So it's going to be shaky with a first year starter, right? Now, he's not a rookie, but it's his first year starting. It's going to be shaky. It's going to be ups and downs. But Matt LaFleur has this team at 8-8, and I believe with a win, they are in as well. So nobody thought the Green Bay Packers team would be in the playoffs. Everybody thought this was like a rebuild a little bit, right? We're looking at, like I said, a very young QB with Jordan Love. Don't really have a great number one receiver to rely on. I mean, Christian Watson is pretty good, but he's not a number one right now, in my opinion. Defensively, on outside of Jair Alexander and Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, they are stars, but they're not the elites of the elite. So this team all around looks average, but they're about to be in the playoffs if they can win this weekend. So shout out to him as well. But those are my coaches that I want to give shout outs to, and just have a coaching appreciation segment because I feel like they don't get the love that they deserve. All right. And on to the next segment. This segment I also been waiting for. Straight to the point award show. Okay, so I'm about to give out my awards for this season, who I think should be MVP, Offensive Player of the Year, etc., etc. Okay, last week I talked about um, Lamar Jackson and how I don't think he's having an MVP year. The stats don't back it up, even after this monstrous game he just had. Now, that was an MVP performance, but I'm still looking at the 4 years body of work, and I don't think that he's having an MVP statistical season. Okay, go look at the stats of the previous MVPs, including him, and compare him to his stats right now, and tell me that there's a big difference. Okay, so I do not think he should be. I don't think no quarterback should be the MVP. My MVP as of right now, okay, is Christian McCaffrey. All right, Christian McCaffrey, what he is doing in in San Francisco, sorry, he is on an elite offense, right? Nick Wright from First Things First, like they call them the Avengers. Okay, that's how dominant this offense is. That's how much talent this offense has, and he is the player that sticks out the most. Okay, so Christian McCaffrey has 1,459 rushing yards this year. The next closest running back is 1,144. Okay, so there's a big gap between the leading rusher and the second leading rusher. He has 564 receiving yards, and he also has 21 total touchdowns. Okay, 21 scrimmage touchdowns, whether it's receiving or rushing. The Jets have 21 touchdowns this year. The Jets as a team has 21 touchdowns this year. So that's just to put into perspective how many touchdowns 21 is for one player. Okay, so Christian McCaffrey to me is by far the most valuable player this year. All right, next, my offensive player of the year. I think Lamar is going to end up winning MVP for some reason. Like I said, I don't know why. So I think Christian McCaffrey going to end up winning Offensive Player of the Year. But if it went my way, Christian McCaffrey would have been MVP, and Tyreek Hill would win Offensive Player of the Year. At one point, we was talking about Tyreek Hill put up 2,000 yards this year. Right, we haven't talked about no receiver like that since maybe Megatron putting up 2,000 yards. And of course, he kind of hit a drop off period where so now he really can't get it. He needs 300 yards to get it. He does play this weekend. He has to play this weekend because they have to win to get the division, to get that home field advantage. So he's going to play. I doubt he has 300 yards, but even with 100 or 200 yards, he can creep into the top five for the most single season receiving yards of all time. And with 112 catches, 1,717 yards, and 12 touchdowns, Tyreek Hill has been a highlight reel this year. Every week I'm scratching my head, shaking my head, wondering why is he putting up these numbers when you know that he's that good. He's trying to eliminate him from the game plan. I keep seeing teams play man-to-man coverage with him, and he just runs past the DB every single time because he's the fastest player to ever touch a football. Okay, so Tyreek Hill, I think, should be the offensive player of the year. That leaves me with defensive player of the year. This is not me being biased, okay, but this is just strictly factual. All right, I'm going with T.J. Watt from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He should be defensive player of the year. This shouldn't even be a debate. Like I'm seeing the odds from Vegas, and Vegas is saying that Myles Garrett has a better chance. Michael Parsons has a better chance. We haven't heard Michael Parsons' name in so long. The only time we hear Michael Parsons' name is because he's doing a podcast. All right. And unfortunately, he's famous, so his podcast is doing better than mine. But that's why we know. That's why we've been hearing about him in the news lately. Is because of what he's saying on the podcast, not because of what he's doing on the field. Looking at T.J. Watt this year, he is tied for first with 17 sacks. And no, it's not Myles Garrett. No, it's not Michael Parsons. No, it's not Nick Bosa. It's Trey Hendrickson that's tied with him for 17 sacks. So shout out to you, Trey. All right, you're doing a great job in Cincinnati, but you don't get no love. All right, unfortunately, that's how it works. All right, you're doing a good job, but you're not amongst the elites. All right, so T.J. Watt, 17 sacks, tied for first, 42 tackles. He has an interception. I mean, mind you, it wasn't a tip ball. It was he dropped back into coverage and picked off Matthew Stafford against the Rams. He also has 4 forced fumbles. Sorry, and 3 fumble recoveries and also a defensive touchdown. All right, if you look at his stats versus Myles Garrett and Michael Parsons' stats, he blows them out the water. Okay, I don't think it should be close. I think it should be a unanimous defensive player of the year. But unfortunately, because we live in a world where Myles Garrett gets so much hype and Michael Parsons, because he plays in Dallas, gets so much hype, TJ Watt might get snubbed. But I do think that this should be an automatic. This is the one that I'm most confident in, that it should be TJ Watt for defensive player of the year. Okay, this next award, offensive rookie of the year, I struggled so hard to pick this because it's 2 players on offense that are rookies that have been balling out this year. One has been breaking records at a receiver position, and one has carried a team to basically a week away from a playoff berth. Right, between C.J. Stroud and Puka Nacua, man, I gotta go with C.J. Stroud. Okay, because nobody thought that this Texans team, would be where they are today. One of the things that impressed me the most about C.J. Stroud is the fact that he's only thrown 5 interceptions. Let me give you all his stats. 3,844 passing yards. He has 63 completion percentage with 21 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. Only 5 interceptions as a rookie, right? I think interceptions is one thing that players over time learn how to limit, right? Because those are just mental mistakes. When you're younger, you make more mental mistakes than when you're older. Like that's not rocket science. So the fact that he's coming into the league only throwing 5 interceptions, eventually he's gonna only throw 3 or 4, then only 3, then only, you know what I'm saying? Like, or it's going to stay at 5. Most rookies come, like Peyton Manning came in through like 20 something interceptions his very first year, but CJ Stroud knows how to take care of the ball right now. So as he gets older and more mature and better and more comfortable with the game, then he's going to get better at every single stat that I just told you about. And another thing that impresses me the most, he does not have a number 1 receiver. I don't care what y'all say about Nico Collins or about Tank Dell or about Noah Brown. None of them are number 1 receivers right now. Okay, maybe Tank Dell might emerge into one. Maybe Nico Collins might emerge into one. But when I name number 1 receivers, those names will never come out of my mouth. But the fact that he does not have a number 1 receiver, he's happy to go through his reads, go through his progressions. When you give him a number 1 receiver, the game is only going to get easier for him. All right, so CJ Stroud, really, on as of right now, he is on track to become the greatest Houston Texan quarterback of all time, even above Deshaun Watson. and on track to become one of the best quarterbacks of all time. I didn't say greatest, one of the best quarterbacks of all time because of where he is right now as a rookie. All right, so great job, CJ Stroud in H Town. All right. Next, defensive rookie of the year. I think this is also a no-brainer. I think it has to go to Jalen Carter. Right. I'm saying it right now, right here, right now. Y'all heard it first here. Jalen Carter is the next Aaron Donald. Okay, mark my words. When I watch Jalen Carter play, now his stats don't just eye popping. Right. His stats aren't that great. 30 tackles, 6 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, 1 fumble recovery, and a touchdown this year, scoop and score to be exact. Jalen Carter to me is going to be the next Aaron Donald. Coming out of college, he was supposed to go number 1, but remember he had that hit and run incident that kind of dropped his draft stock down, and the Eagles snatched him. Okay, but now he's playing on a crowded D line with Fletcher Cox, Hassan Reddick, so his sacks are never going to be up here, right? Because of who he's playing with. But his production, just his presence on the field. You can see it when they play games. He is a absolute baller, and I do believe that he will be. Like I said, we talked about LT, we talked about Lawrence Taylor, right? We talked about Aaron Donald. I think T.J. Watt can be in that conversation. Um, Jalen Carter is in that conversation for some of the best players to play in eras, right? Like Aaron Donald, to me, over the past couple of years, hasn't been what he was early in his career and even mid in his career, right? He kind of fell off a little bit, just a little bit. But T.J. Watt's been that premier defender, right? Now I think that Jalen Carter will take the baton eventually, and he will be one of the best to ever do it, especially on the D line position. So I think Jalen Carter wins that award with ease. And then next, Coach of the Year, another hard one. It was between two people for me. It was between, I don't know why they didn't change. No, that's my fault. Yeah, we had technical difficulty over here. Let me change this real quick. Boom. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jalen Carter. My bad, y'all. And then Coach of the Year. This was very, very hard. It was between DeMeco Ryans and Todd Bowles. I think Todd Bowles gets no love for what he's done in Tampa Bay, which is to me just crazy. But I gotta go with DeMeco Ryans, man, because DeMeco Ryans took a team. I just talked about it in my coach's appreciation segment. A team that had no business, has no business being where they are today. Like when teams come into the season, they have goals. Okay, everybody's goal is not to make the playoffs. Everybody's goal is not to win the Super Bowl. That's not everybody's goal. The Texans, nobody in that the Texans fan base, nobody, no NFL experts, no people doing podcasts like me, not you. Nobody thought this team would be in the playoffs or even close to the playoffs. We thought this was a rebuild year. We thought that it was going to take the Texans maybe 2 to 3 years to find their footing. Then it was going to be competitive. Then it was going to be legit. But this team is legit right now. All right, because of CJ Stroud, because of DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans did this with a rookie quarterback. Okay, and he has his defense with two players that really pops out. Only two, and they're not even elite of the elites. Okay, like you look at some teams, like for example, the Jets. They have Quentin Williams and Sauce Gardner, almost two of the best at their positions on the same defense. That's why the defense is so great because of those two elite defenders. In Houston, you have two players in Derek Stingley and Will Anderson who's not elite yet. They're still pups. They're eventually going to be elite, which means this team is only going to get better. It's really scary for the AFC right now, seeing the Texans being so good right now, knowing that they're not at their peak yet. All right, so with that being said, it's all DeMeco Ryans, man. DeMeco Ryans came here. He led that defense and with the 49ers last year. That was so great. Came over here, has built a great culture. A Texans team that ever since Deshaun Watson left was in shambles. Prior to Deshaun Watson, post Deshaun Watson was in shambles, and CJ Stroud and DeMeco Ryans came and saved this franchise. And I'm telling you, a Lombardi trophy might be in the future for the Houston Texans. I'm gonna say that right now. Okay, it just might be because you have a young quarterback that's doing great right now. Imagine when he gets older, and then you have DeMeco Ryans who is coaching his butt off this year with limited talent. All right, so great job, DeMeco Ryans and C.J. Stroud. All right. Next, we're gonna go with my Week 18 picks. Now I'm gonna get y'all out of here, man. For Week 18, all right. As of right now, Logan won. All right, I tap out. Logan won the for the regular season for our Pick'em League. He is, as of right at this very moment, he's 15 games ahead of me, I believe. As of right now, his record is. Y'all give me 1 second. Sorry. As of right now, where is it? It's coming the wrong one. My bad. So also people that do pick them, there's also a college football pick 'em for the bowl games. That's the one that I was on accident. That's why I couldn't find it. So my bad. Here we go. Logan right now is 169 and 85. I'm 156 and 100. Okay, so he has me by like 15 games. All right, he's gonna win. All right, the next time I have him on, I want to get him on for playoffs. By the way, next time I get him on, we probably gonna flex about that just to warn y'all, because y'all know how Logan is. For those of y'all that watched earlier this season when he was up here. All right. But games start on Saturday. There was no Thursday night game, so games start on Saturday tomorrow. All right, and it starts off with the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens. All right, the Ravens sitting their starters, but I'm honestly more confident in the Steelers when they play the Ravens starters versus the Ravens backups, because that's just kind of how the Steelers roll. We kind of struggle against teams that we have no business struggling against, and we kind of compete and beat the teams that we really shouldn't be competing with. That makes sense. So we're flipped. All right, but even with that being said, what Mason Rudolph has done since he stepped in at the quarterback position just shows us that we're literally a quarterback away, right? And he's on fire right now. I'm gonna go with the hot hand. I'm gonna go with the Pittsburgh Steelers to win this week. If I would have did an episode, if I would have did my picks last week, I picked the Seahawks. Honestly, I picked the Seahawks last week to beat us because I just thought that Mason Rudolph against the Bengals was just a basically showing us that if we have a good quarterback, we can win. But he's not a good quarterback, so I thought he would kind of fall back down. He did it. He played good last week. I'm hoping he plays good this week. I need him to play good this week, and I think that we can go into Baltimore and try and help clinch our playoff spot with the win of going Pittsburgh and Baltimore. All right, Houston Texans and the Colts on Saturday night, man. And this has hurt my feelings because I've been telling y'all this whole episode about CJ Stroud and about D'Amico Ryans and how this team future is so bright. But mind you, I said future. I think the Colts are going to win this game at home. Shane Steichen has done a great job as well. Both of these coaches have done a great job. No matter what happens on Saturday, both of these coaches need a standing ovation for the job they did this year with the rosters that they have. The Colts have a better roster, but it's not a great roster. And what Shane Steichen has done in his first year as a head coach needs to be acknowledged. I'm gonna go with the Colts at home to beat the Houston Texans. All right. And then on Sunday we got the Browns and the Bengals. The Browns are not really playing for anything. The Bengals aren't either, so I'm gonna go with the Browns because I think they are a better team right now. All right. A lot of these teams, some of these teams are sitting their starters, so that kind of depend. That kind of makes me pick that kind of determines who I pick. Sorry, because they're sitting starters and everything like that. Detroit Lions and the Vikings. I'm pretty sure Detroit is going to sit their starters too. I'm gonna go with the Vikings. And I'm going to the Detroit Lions still because I don't think the Vikings are that good. And not only that, but the Vikings, it's in Detroit. I think Detroit wants to also end and go into the playoffs on a high note. So I'm gonna go with Detroit. And they might sit this. They might play their starters, right? But some of these teams aren't. Jacksonville and the Titans. I remember I used to love Jacksonville when the season started. I was like, man, Jacksonville gonna be so good this year. I can't wait to see Trevor Lawrence play like an MVP. I can't wait to see these weapons around him go crazy, and none of that happened. This team is average. This team might just be a little below average. I've been jumped off the Jacksonville train. They beat the Raiders last. No, they beat the Panthers last week, but it's the Panthers. I can really see Jacksonville going to Tennessee and losing this game. And not only because as a Steelers fan, I need Jacksonville to lose, but I can really see Derrick Henry going crazy on Sunday, right, to end the season. Because the Titans really don't, they're not playing for nothing. They're not going to the playoffs, so they want to end the season just a high note, right? It's everybody last game, then we get to chill. I think Derrick Henry about to go stupid on Sunday, and I think the Jacksonville about to get bounced. All right, so I'm going with the Tennessee Titans to beat the Jacksonville Jaguars. All right, the Jets and Patriots. I'm going with the Jets. It's really pick your poison at that point. The Atlanta Falcons and the Saints. I'm going with the Saints. All right, I think the Atlanta Falcons have been a roller coaster this year. Sometimes they look good, sometimes they look bad, but mostly they look bad. The Saints, they need this win to get in. They need this win to have a chance to get in. So I'm gonna go with the Saints at home. The Buccaneers and the Panthers. Todd Bowles, please clinch the division and go ahead and win this thing so people can give you flowers, man. I'm going with the Buccaneers over the Panthers. Not really much to explain there. The Bears and the Packers. The Packers need a win to get in. right? The Bears could play spoiler. They really could. But I think Matt LaFleur gonna get this team right. You know what? I'm gonna change that pick. I'm going with the Bears. I think the Bears about to go into Lambeau and shut because Justin Fields has been playing really good lately. I think Justin Fields about to go into Lambeau and shut all that playoff noise down with Green Bay. All right, so I'm gonna go with Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears. All right, I changed that pick. I'm gonna go with the Bears. All right, next to the Broncos and the Raiders. I'm gonna go with the Raiders. I think Antonio Pierce might just preach in the locker room before the game and basically tell the guy, hey, we're going home regardless. Let's end the season on a high note. I got Vegas winning. And the turmoil and the drama in Denver, benching Russ and all that stuff just don't sit right with me. So I'm going to go with the good vibes in Vegas. All right. Next, we got Philly and the Giants. I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles, man. Look, I used to be 100% confident. Then I told you I was 75. Now I'm about 60% confident that this team can make the Super Bowl. They've looked so bad over the past couple of weeks. Ever since I said Jalen Hurts is the best quarterback in the league. He's played like the worst quarterback in the league. So I still think they're better than the Giants, even on their off day. Last week I said on their off day they're better than the Cardinals, but clearly I was wrong. But I'm gonna go with the Philadelphia Eagles on this one. All right, next we got the Seattle Seahawks and the Arizona Cardinals. I'm gonna go with Seattle. Seattle is fighting for their playoff spot as well, so I'm gonna go with Seattle to go ahead and get that win on the road in Arizona. All right, I think Arizona gonna be drunk off that win against the Eagles, and they're not gonna really come to play against Seattle. All right, then you got the Chiefs and the Chargers. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs. Chargers, not confident. Chargers not that good of a team. Um, even before Brandon Staley got fired, I thought it wasn't that good, especially after they played a little better. But I think the Chiefs are going to go ahead and win this game. Next, we got the Rams and the 49ers. 49ers. Christian McCaffrey is the only player that's not playing, I believe. I think they're going to play everybody else. So I'm going to go with the 49ers over the Rams. And Matthew Stafford is not playing for sure. All right, so I'm going to go with the 49ers. And then we got Dallas and the Commanders. Watch Dallas lose this game, but I'm gonna pick Dallas. All right, I'm gonna pick Dallas to win this game. I believe they're gonna play their starters as well, and they don't want to do what they did last year. Right, last year they lost to the Commanders at the end of the season, and then went and beat the Bucks. So it really didn't determine anything or hurt them in any way. But I'm gonna pick Dallas to win this game. They're just better, and the Commanders just aren't that good. And then the big game of the week. All right, Buffalo Bills and the Miami Dolphins. This is for the division. For the Bills, this is for a playoff spot. I'm going to go with Miami at home. I know I've said Miami are clowns. I know I've said it plenty of times. But the Bills over the past couple of weeks have not played that well, and they beat some really bad teams. They beat the Chargers, who don't have a starting quarterback, and then they also just beat. Ooh, I cannot think of who it was. The Patriots, who does not also have a starting quarterback. So they've been beating some very, very bad teams over the past couple of weeks. Hopefully, the Miami Dolphins, after getting beat up by the Ravens last week, comes out with motivation at home, needs to get that home field advantage. I believe they're going to pull out the win against Buffalo. All right. So that is it for today's episode, man. Look, 2024, man, I think it's going to be a movie. Okay, I've been telling my family about how much I've been looking forward to 2024 and how excited I am and what I think is going to happen in 2024. And with the podcast, I really plan on being a lot more consistent, getting y'all more consistent content, whether it's on Instagram or on YouTube, whether it's shorts, whatever it is. I'm going to dedicate myself to it, and I want y'all to hold me to it as well. And for those of y'all that's been with me since day one, man, I really do appreciate y'all. Right, this is my I started in 2022, I believe. Yep, 2023. This is my third year. It's about to be my third year doing this. Um, my third calendar year. Okay, I started late 2022, then a full 2023. Now we're in the beginning of 2024. So I've been doing this 2022, 2023, now 2024. All right, so I want to thank everybody that's been supporting me since day one. Trust me, I know who you are. All right, you don't got to text me and say, hey, it's me that support. No, I know who it is. I appreciate y'all. And I promise you, this thing is only going to get better. I promise you that. All right, I'm going to bring y'all better content, more content this year. I'm going to have more guests on the show this year. I'm going to have more segments this year. I'm going to have more fan participation and people that support me. I want y'all to get more involved. So just bear with me. I'm going to get more information out as I go. All right, so like I said, man, 2024 is going to be a movie and a blessing. All right, so with that being said, I want to thank everybody for watching today. I will see y'all again next week. Y'all enjoy week 18 of football, okay? Because like I said, a lot of teams got to put up or shut up. Win or go home literally starts this week. All right. But that's it, man. Much love. Y'all stay safe. Y'all stay blessed.